Hello there, and thanks for joining me. I'm digital artist Aaron Rutten, and in this video I'm going to answer a commonly asked question, and that is it possible to make great art with only a mouse? So first, before I answer that question, let's talk a little bit about why somebody would want to use a mouse for creating digital art. Let's not forget that the mouse was one of the first tools used to create digital art before Wacom tablets became mainstream. So back in my day, I had to use a mouse. I didn't really have a choice. But nowadays, there's lots of reasons why somebody might choose to use a mouse over a Wacom tablet. There might be folks who still prefer to use a mouse, holdouts from the 80s perhaps. Of course, a big reason is that not everybody can afford to buy a tablet, and another good reason is because some of us are differently abled, and so it's just more effective to draw using a mouse because you have more control over it than a pen. And I personally have a lot of respect for artists who don't let anything stand in the way of making art. A lot of artists complain that they don't have a nice tablet and that's why they can't make great art, but there's a lot of folks making really nice, really detailed art using just a mouse. And I really can't think of any better example than my friend Ian's channel. Ian Griffiths has a channel called IG Designing. I recommend that you go to it now and check it out because Ian makes all of his digital artwork with a mouse. And if we take a look at some of these examples here, he's able to achieve some very realistic results because he thinks outside of the box. And he finds a lot of different ways to achieve effects that you would normally use a pen for using only a mouse. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Ian's videos here. And just in case you have trouble finding the channel, I'll put a link down in the video description as well. So here in Ian's videos, let's take a look at the sponge cake speed art. And I'm going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit so that we can see it evolve more quickly. I'm going to make this 2 times faster. And you can see here that Ian is using only a mouse, but he's finding ways to use the different digital art tools such as straight line drawing mode and selections and preserve transparency or lock alpha to help him paint with a mouse. So when you're drawing with a mouse, you don't necessarily have to draw the same way you would with a pen. With a pen, you might make individual brush strokes and blend and smudge and things like that. When you're working with a mouse, it's a completely different process. And so it's easier to use some of these tools to your advantage. But I'm just really amazed every time I see Ian put out a video what he's able to accomplish using only a mouse. He can do a lot of things that people who have a nice tablet can't even do. So I'll go ahead and jump ahead just a bit. You can feel free to watch through this video and experience the glory of all of this beautiful painting that he's doing. There's the strawberry. And what I like about this is he's creating videos often and he's combining elements together. He might paint, for example, this rock surface and the table that the sponge cake is sitting on, and the strawberry was from a different painting and so on. And he combines them together. So I like that he's reusing backgrounds and different elements. So there's that one. Another one of my favorites is the Artisan Bread Speed Paint. And you can see he's using preserve transparency here, which is allowing him to avoid painting outside of that bread shape that he created first. Lots of different layers. He's using layers, which is good to do if you're making digital art. Skip ahead a little bit more, and you can see he's using the distortion tools to smudge the shapes around. If he didn't get the shape exactly the way he wanted it, he has the flexibility to be able to nudge stuff around. And so if you want some ideas for how to paint with a mouse, definitely check out Ian's videos. You can watch through the videos and you can get all kinds of great ideas. I'll just skip ahead a little bit to the finished result here, and you can see that looks really detailed. He did a great job on that using just a mouse. So I invite you to go check out Ian's channel, IG Designing. There's a link in the video description below. And now I want to talk about my own personal experience drawing with a mouse. As I mentioned earlier, back in my day, I had to use a mouse. I didn't have a choice. And my first digital art experience with a mouse was using a Super Nintendo game called Mario Paint. It came with a little Super Nintendo mouse. It had 2 mouse buttons just like you have here. Didn't have a scroll wheel, but you could use it to make some very simple digital art. I actually have a few videos where I mess around in Mario Paint you can check out. But I was never really that good at it. I never had the patience, and I still don't have the patience to be able to make really detailed art with a mouse. And let's say, for some reason, I couldn't hold a pen anymore, and all I could use was a mouse, I would still want to make digital art and I would still use the mouse. So don't feel like because you don't have a tablet, you can't get into digital art and you can't make great digital art and you can't have success, because that's not true. You can make great digital art using just a mouse. You can make great digital art just using your finger on your trackpad or on your touchscreen device, such as your tablet or your smartphone. I've seen people paint portraits that look just like a photo using only their finger. So sure, a mouse isn't going to give you pen pressure or pen tilt or any of these other fancy features that you would get with a Wacom tablet, but you don't necessarily need that. All you need is some imagination, some patience, some talent, and the drive to want to make digital art no matter what. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on whether or not it's possible to make great art using only a mouse. If you found this information helpful, take a quick second to like this video. And if you're new to my channel, I'd love to have you subscribe. I have a lot more digital art videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.